It's showtime.
Hey everyone, Django Fett here. So it's time for my final list of 2020, and it's my top 10 games of 2020. This is my favorite list to do of 2020, but it always takes the longest, as you can tell from the footage that I have to edit. So 2020 is definitely a weird year in video games. Because of COVID and everything was delayed, but there was still some DLC and, you know, games that I always catch up on that I'm behind from the previous year that I play this year. You know, I played some new games, but mostly older games, and still had a great time. 2020 was still a good year for me for video games, and it helps to quarantine inside the house so I could play more games. Now this list is my personal list. If you want to have your own list, go ahead by any means. Tell me your list in the comment section below, but at the end of the day, this is my list, and this is my personal opinion of my favorite games of last year. So the games that didn't quite make the list, but I do want to mention, with first being SteamWorld Quest Hand of Gilgamesh. I've been a big fan of the SteamWorld games by Image and Form, and they've all been gigantically different from one another. You had SteamWorld Dig, you had SteamWorld Heist, which is still awesome, and I would love to see sequels of that. Fortunately, we have had a sequel of SteamWorld Dig 2. I would love another sequel to SteamWorld Heist. And this is another pretty awesome game, and this is a sort of a role-playing Final Fantasy-esque game with cards in the mix. And you have these three characters that have to fight against these opponents, and you progress through this wonderful story. And it's kind of weird in the beginning because they're kind of like speaking, these robots, even though they've never spoken before English. They kind of speak robot. So that was the only kind of weird thing when it comes to the SteamWorld game. Overall, great time with this game, and highly recommend it if you're a big fan of the SteamWorld games like myself. Another on the list is Borderlands 3 plus the DLC. Now, I've had a great time with Borderlands 3. I think it's easily one of the best looter shooters out there. Maybe Borderlands 2, Borderlands 1 are probably better when it comes to story-wise and stuff, but Borderlands 3 is still a really fun looter shooter that I highly recommend, and the DLC helps with that too. Kind of 50-50 on the DLC, and plus they're gonna have a really horrible move like they did with Borderlands 2 that I fucking hated, and that's a season pass too. And this is essentially you have to buy another season pass even if you had the season pass in order to get the rest of the other content they're gonna come out in the future, which is fucking horseshit, and I fucking hate that shit. It should not be allowed in the gaming industry. Fuck that shit. And it's good to finally play it from Xbox to Steam because it's meant to be played on PC. And no, I will not play it on fucking Epic Game Store. Fuck that shit. And another game worth mentioning is Rage 2. I don't know what people are talking about. This game is fun as shit, man. Now, I didn't expect anything from this game because I hated the first Rage game. I couldn't even barely finish that. And it's actually developed by Avalanche and id Software, and it feels very much like a Doom open world game where you just go around and shooting shit. And I had a blast. I had a lot of fun playing this on the Xbox Game Store when it came out. And I don't know what people are talking about. This is just, the gameplay is fun, the story is shit. I don't care about the story, but the gameplay is what matters for me, and it's freaking awesome. I had a blast. Now let's start with the list. Coming in number 10 is A Plague Tale: Innocence. Now, this is a game about two kids who have to venture into this brutal medieval world, and I think they're French and the enemies are English, as they try to get to the safe. And it's just an incredible journey that combines action, adventure, and stealth gameplay, and has these insane rats. And they're scared by light, and really enjoyed this awesome game, and I really liked this story a lot. And it's developed by a new studio called Asobo Studio, and they've kind of done like a bunch of other shit that I'm not even aware of, but for kind of like their own experience and their own like developed game, I mean, this is just, they need to do more, man, because they just did a fantastic job with this game. And who knows, I would love to see sequels to this and see more games like this in the future. Coming in at number 9 is Battletech. I'm a huge Battletech fan, and initially, I have to admit, I didn't really like the experience with the game So I ended up having to take a long break from the game because I'm pretty terrible at these tactical games, but I gave it some time and revisited it again because I'm a huge Battletech fan. I've read the Battletech books back in the day, Mech Warrior and such. I love the lore. And I had to play this game, revisit this game one of these days, and it's just a fun tactical game with all the classic mechs that I'm familiar with. I wish there was a little bit more like the clan mechs, but you know, this is not dealing with the clans. This is dealing with a whole different entities altogether. So it's still a fun experience, and I had a blast. I still would love to see, you know, a sequel to this for sure. I think this is like an indie Kickstarter that I think I supported back in the day. And I would love to see a second game, a third game, and this time put in the clans in the mix, because I want my fucking Mad Cat. Bring that shit back, man, because I would be fucking the first one in line to just play as the Mad Cat and just fucking use that shit. That's my favorite mech by far. Coming in at number 8 is Resident Evil 2. Wow, what a remake, man. I've replayed this game like 4 times just to get the different endings, and they did a phenomenal job with this remake, and easily one of the best remakes I have ever played. This is just, wow, what a game, man. I just can't believe how much they did with this amazing game with Leon and Claire, and even though this Leon is not as good as Resident Evil 4 Leon, it's still pretty good. I still like Leon. Leon's still one of my favorite characters of all time, and in the Resident Evil franchise, he's still my favorite, of course. But still a really fun horror game that I've never played before, but the remake helped. But man, Mr. X is one scary motherfucker with his boots, man. He is not someone you want to fuck with when it comes to Resident Evil 2.
Jesus, stay down!
Coming in number 7 is Monster Hunter World. Well, what do you know? Monster Hunter World is not my number 1, as per usual with these top 10 lists. But I had a great time with Monster Hunter World. They still updated with awesome content, some great new monsters, of course, and the last one being Fatalis, which I still haven't played through yet. I'm still kind of scared because I heard that fight is just impossible. I've already had a hard time as it is with Elatrion, and adding Fatalis, which is 10 times harder than that, I don't know about that shit, man. I don't know if I want to attempt it, but one of these days I hope so. I mean, they just add more content and just more fun to be had with the game, and I can't wait for a sequel eventually down the road. But it still wasn't up there in the top 5 or number 1 for me, because there was more games on the list that I think there are worth mentioning. Coming in number 6 is Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlords. Big fan of Warband, Mountain Blade Warband when it came out, and while I didn't really know how to really play that game, I loved my experience with it. And seeing with the second game, enhanced graphics and, you know, gameplay and just a better map overall, I mean, what's not to love if you're a big fan of Warband? And that's what we want, an enhanced Warband with greater enhanced content, and that's what we wanted. And people who are bitching about the graphics just don't know what they're fucking talking about. This is an awesome game, and I will need to replay it one of these days. I replayed it once, beat it, and I plan to play it second or third time for sure, because every playthrough of this game is different than the last. Coming in number 5 is Metro Exodus. Finally coming out on Steam after being on 1 year on the fucking shitty Epic Games Store. We can finally get a chance to play this on Steam, us Steam users. But this game I did play on Xbox One X and eventually played it on Steam and where it belongs. It's fantastic, man. The stealth, the gameplay, the atmospheric experience of the Metro games is just enhanced with this game. It's just phenomenal, and they incorporate these open world-esque elements into the game. It's not a true open world by any means, but it's just a really incredible experience with the story, and it's not as good per se as Last Light. I've already replayed this game though 2 to 3 times, and I'm planning to play it a 4th time for sure, because it's just an incredible experience. While the decisions are not as good or up there with Last Light, The doomsday apocalyptic elements are there and strong, and it definitely competes with Fallout. There's like nothing like this. I mean, Metro is just like up there next to Fallout for sure. That's how fucking good it is. Coming in number 4 is Spiritfarer. This is a small little indie game that came out not too long ago, and I played it on the Game Pass just to give it a shot, and this was a very heartwarming, if not heart-wrenching, indie game. I was just surprised on how incredible the story and really was. It just really touched me onto a whole nother level with this game. I've never seen anything like it. I got really emotional, I have to admit, and I almost teared up when you had to say goodbye to these people. But basically, you are a Spiritfarer, and you're in charge of taking these animal beings, who are actually human, and have a connection to your real life, because I think you passed away in some way, and you have to bring them to the world beyond, the afterlife pretty much, as they're stuck on this zone. So you have to pretty much help them surpass and go to the afterlife and stuff. And you have to say goodbye to these people, and for the most part, most of them are just really sympathetic, good people. There's a couple that are just assholes and stuff, but you know, it just shows that there's no one perfect by any means. Not even your character is perfect. Your character has made mistakes. And it's a very deep story that I've never seen before, and a lot of stuff that I really didn't get around and wrap my head around, I actually had to go to Wikipedia just to really get it, and just to read that story and really understand it was just, it really touched me in a way that I've never seen before in a video game. I'm just shocked because Xbox Game Pass, I would never expect with these indie games, but now you're on my radar, Xbox Game Pass. With all these indie games, I am going to be on the lookout for some of these awesome games. But easily, this is a game you have to play. You have to experience for yourself. Coming in number 3, believe it or not, is Cyberpunk 2077. Now, with all the bugs and controversies surrounding this game, and believe me, there's a lot of controversy,
What is this?
Exist in such a small...
All right, Jesus, you know your stuff. Trust you won't break nothing. Go check on your little miracle while its firmware gets updated.
He's getting updated?
CD Projekt Red, I mean, they just deceived us and they betrayed us on every level, and they don't deserve our trust at this point. But for my experience, for what I've played with Cyberpunk, and the bugs, I've experienced plenty of bugs, don't get me wrong. I don't think anybody has had a really great experience overall, maybe a good experience. I've had a really good experience, but I really enjoyed the gameplay and the story. I mean, I think it's fantastic, and if they actually fix the game with all the, bugs and, delay this game for a year, this game would easily be number 1. This would be a 10 out of 10 game for me, for sure. But they didn't, and they broke some promises when it comes to, like, the initial life path story, and, man, I would love to see, like, more dynamic pathways to go from there instead of just going down one path. That would have just been fucking brilliant. My experience has been great. I love the world. I love the characters. The characters are really well written. Jackie is fucking awesome. Panam, she's my bae, man. I love Panam. It took a while, but damn, did she get great, and she was definitely my lover for sure. I still don't like kind of like the looter shooter elements of this game where it kind of depends on this DPS system. I think that's fucking stupid. They should have not put that at all. But man, this game is really fun on PC. I mean, don't buy this right now. I'm not saying you have to buy this. But I really wanted to play it, and I still had a really good time and had a really good experience with the game. But buyers beware, this game is going to have problems if you're going to buy this game. So I would recommend waiting 6 months to a year, then play this game, because then you're going to get the superior experience compared to those who have initially played it. And plus, you're probably going to get all the DLC with it too. Coming in number 2 is Total War Warhammer 2. Now, I think I've put this game on my list a couple times. Man, I just discovered like all of the DLC for this game, and it's kind of like shined the light for me like in another way that I've never saw before, because I played the Total War Warhammer and Warhammer 2 games initially without all the DLC, and I had a relatively good time. I didn't have a bad time by any means. But once I discovered all the DLC, that's the way to go with this game. And yeah, there's a lot of DLC, don't get me wrong, but you're gonna get the superior experience with all the lords, the factions, and it's just an incredible experience that is unlike any other. And I've been a fan of the Total War games since Shogun Total War 1. I'm terrible at the games, I'm terrible at the Total War games, but I have so much fun with these games. And it's just like when it comes to historical and now the fantasy part, which I was kind of relatively like, I don't know about this, I think this is stupid. But I gotta say, this is my favorite Total War game by far. It's just like an open sandbox experience within the Warhammer world. You feel like, you know, depending on where you go, you're leading your force to be the best that there is. To fight against chaos, or to be chaos, be a force of good, be a force of bad. And when it comes to strategy games, this is the one strategy game I would highly recommend. If you've never played a strategy game and you want to get into one, play this game. Play Warhammer 1, get Warhammer 1, then get Warhammer 2, get all the DLC, and then play Warhammer 2. And trust me when I say this, this is the best strategy game I have ever played. It's just amazing to me what they've done with the Total War games and with putting in Warhammer. And hey, we might have a Lord of the Rings Total War game, which is fucking amazing. But the Total War games have been phenomenal, and these new fantasy Warhammer games, they're all on a whole nother level for me. And coming in at number 1 is Ghost of Tsushima. Yes, a PlayStation game that I didn't expect to play at all. But my brother had a PS4 Pro, and I managed to get the game and experience it for myself, and this game easily puts Assassin's Creed to shame. I mean, goddamn. I mean, like in every way, they put Assassin's Creed to shame. It's just an open world Japanese game that we've always wanted. Like being a samurai. I know it's not a ninja, but you're pretty much a samurai trying to fight against the Mongols. I mean, Assassin's Creed has been outdated for some time, but this one actually puts it on the map for me. Easily beats, you know, any other Assassin's Creed that have come out in the past since what? Assassin's Creed Black Flag? Yeah. I've wanted to explore every single thing in this map. Like every single thing, and 100% it for sure. And that's what I did. I was just shocked with how much they put in this game. Like, Sucker Punch, you did a phenomenal job with this game. And for the one game that I've played on a PlayStation 4, this is like easily my game of the year. And go figure, man, my game of the year is a PlayStation 4 game. And I don't like PlayStation. I just don't like the controllers. But man, I had to force myself to do it because I wanted to play this game. And then as I got better in the game, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm loving this. But easily my game of the year goes to Tsushima. So that is my top 10 list of 2020. Let me know yours in the comment section below. And don't forget to please like this video and subscribe to my channel, Django Fett, if you haven't already. And I'll be sure to do some more Star Wars content. Don't worry. I'm going to be doing an announcement and everything, and get back to all the Star Wars stuff that you guys know and love. So I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.